place?
Yeah, and she just pretty much told us, look for the roof. And I saw the roof of this house up here.
Yeah, I know it,
And
but
I
I
went
can't
right
imagine you going up that rough side of Montgomery Road. Of course, nobody's home up there for a week.
We've been sitting up there all night.
Yeah.
The reason we came down here is we thought, God, well, we'll just leave a note and go get something to drink because we're dying of thirst. So we get in the car and we drive down.
You were up there at 3:30?
I see this and I know we've blown it. You know, I see this and I see that.
You sure did. Something happened. I don't know. I've been here waiting and kind of fuming because I got.
Well, this is the second time I've fumed you.
Well, I made other appointments, and.
You know, if you have an appointment later and you can come back, we could do it later too. You know.
I don't know just what it's going to take you, what time it's going to. I don't know what you want.
Might take 2 minutes.
Might take you 10 minutes. Might take 10 hours. I don't know.
Let's see.
But I'm working now with movies and just finished 2. You see, I prop movies, and now I've got this Rise of the Purple Sage going, and I got some equipment to get ready for them. So, been a sure busy time for now.
Well, let's start.
So is that thing running?
It's running now. I hope. Yeah.
Yeah, I see.
It's running now. Let's just go back to the beginning of the movies too, so because most of the stuff I've gotten from
Betty.
the past few days has been about.
Well, I worked in the first one that they ever did up there, and I've been working ever since. That was Wagon Master. That was a John Ford production, and I've been working them ever. Probably worked more movies than. Well, George White's done a lot, but I've probably worked in more still. I don't know. I worked in Arizona, worked in Kanab, and over in Durango, and I worked a lot of them. But my work is different as props. Started out being a wrangler. I used to drive 4-up horses or 6-up horses like that, but I got away from that, and I'm into props now. So, that's it. You ask the questions, I'll answer.
We got some interesting stories about John Wayne, and if we just have a little something about John Wayne, we can tag along.
I knew him, of course, and didn't care for him when he was younger, and thought he was great when he's older. So, what do you want? Anything special? Just
a story, if you have a story about him.
Well, no, not really. I don't, but. We've entertained them at the house, the whole crew. We did all of them up there at that time. And I see Ben Johnson, Harry Carey Jr., and who else was in that picture? Was Maureen O'Hara? I don't know. And Kathleen O'Malley, and all them older ones, Up there, we entertained them up at the house, had them up for dinner and whatnot. And John, to me, is one of the best actors. Of course, he is to a lot of people that ever hit the screen, but especially Westerns. But at first, I didn't care for him because he was a little hyper. And later years, he settled down, and was a pretty nice guy. I liked him. And Ben Johnson, it was in those pictures, who was also excellent. He used to take him hunting. I know him well. Yeah. And in fact, I met Harry Carey Jr. just last week over in Durango. He bought a home over there now, and he's retired over there. Used to call him Toby Carey. So I'm going back over to see him again when I can have more time with him. So this is a motion picture deal, huh?
Yep.
I'll be darn well. I got a chance of being
The movies after all.
Well, no,
You've been in the movies, haven't you?
Been in several, and I had an offer to take a part in this next one here down with this Riders of Purple Sage one. I don't know if I'm going to do it or not.
What was your part?
What?
What would your part be?
Well, I'm a Gentile, but my part was a Mormon bishop. Anyhow, I think they're changing that script a little bit, and I don't know whether they're going to do that or not. You know, there's a little different in some states, and Zane Grey, Hoffman, Burney, and those early authors weren't too complimentary to the Mormons, so they might have to change their script a little bit. I don't know if you want to print this.
Yo, I've got so much interesting stuff about the Mormons.
Anyhow,
You can talk about the Mormons anytime you want. That works real good for me.
well, I came here in 1929. They've been trying to make one out of me ever since I've been here, of course, and I told them I wouldn't do it unless they made me a bishop. Now I've got the offer, so anyhow. But it's kind of funny, you know. It really is. But I've done a lot. In fact, I worked in front of the screen in that first picture, Wagon Master, and that was a story of the Mormons coming through the Hole in the Rock. Then later on, I did prop the whole picture called the Hole in the Rock, the Impossible Journey, for the state of Utah. It's 7th grade history. So, and I've lived here for, well, since 29. Everybody asks me if I lived here all my life. I tell them not yet, but I'm working at it, you know.
Your family was here before you got here?
My uncle, my family, I came 2 years ahead of them. We're east from the East Coast, and Pennsylvania Dutch, but I can't. He was a trapper, trapped in here in the early days for the big cattle companies. The wolves were taking over, which they're going to do again now that they've turned a bunch loose up in Wyoming. But they were doing about $800 worth of damage a night to the cattle, killing cattle in 4 states in the Four Corners area. There's a pack of about 14 of them. And finally they got desperate, and my uncle was a trapper out of, well, Washington at the time. And they sent for him down here because they couldn't nobody have any luck with him, you know. And then I came and stayed with him when I was about 14. Went to cowboying and trapping along with him. So, but this country's changed a lot since then. I suppose if you caught a wolf now, I'd be a big howl. But at that time, they were paying a bounty on coyotes, bounty on cats. Today we've got a lot of lion and bear in here. In fact, a guy hit one with a car right out here about 5 days ago and killed a bear, totaled his car. They're getting pretty thick when you get to seeing them and hitting them with cars. So, but I'm not an environmentalist. I mean, we're all environmentalists, but I'm not an extremist like so many people around here. I think there's got to be a control on this stuff. And I don't want to see the country destroyed either, and I'm not exactly running them down, but some of them are total extremists, which I don't go for.
I'm getting a lot of information on that. That's for sure.
Are you?
Oh yeah, from a lot of the people I'm talking to, at least the people I'm focusing in on, have pretty much the same.
Well, the people you're focusing in on saw a different life, lived here at a different time than today. We're getting too darn many people now, and those people don't really realize what we put up with in the early times. I say early. I'm not early. I'm only 1929, but there was people in here in the town was settled in 88. But it was still, kind of Western when I moved in here and was a kid. We survived. Now they're making wilderness areas out here out of areas that if they'd leave it alone, they'd always be wilderness. Now if they're designating them as wilderness, why there's going to be millions of people want to see it. And the cow impact is not going to be near was never what the people will be. Now they got these 4 families of Mexican spotted owls out here. They took 2 million acres for them. Well, I mean, why don't they put a bounty on them and ship them back to Mexico like they do the rest of the wetbacks, instead of taking 2 million acres of ground out here, and people are going to want to see it. And if they didn't mess with it, it'd always be a wilderness. Nobody wants it back there. So, and I haven't seen any change in the 70 years I've been here. Oh, I don't know.
The cattle surely haven't any damage.
And the cattle, well, they overgrazed this country in the early days. Like I say, we're all environmentalists. We've tried to we used to, there was no restrictions whatsoever. Whoever could run the most cows was the big shot then. Those times have changed. When I first worked for the SS Cattle Company, we ran about 12 to 14,000 head. Today it's only 1,000 head cow outfit. So things have changed considerable. But and these younger generation move in here haven't seen that picture. They don't know any different, and they think we're just like a woman come into us in the station here the other day, saying, "Well, don't you think these trees and these rocks have got some feeling?" And we asked her. We said, "Well, she was from Moab." She said, "What are you going to do? Walk back home, are you?" And she said, "What do you mean walk back home?" "Well, look at all the dead bugs you got in your radiator. Those things do have a little feeling." Oh, she got mad and took out. I guess you heard a lot of this crap. I don't know.
I heard that story before, but I really congratulate you on being able to say it like it was fresh. That's great.
You heard that one before?
No. I heard that. He told me that one last time I was in Betty's office.
Oh, did I?
That's
well,
good, though. That's hard. It's hard to tell somebody the same story twice. I'm glad you forgot you told me.
Well, anyhow, but like I say, I'm an environmentalist. Sure, I don't want to see the country destroyed. But I do think that all this stuff was put here for man to use, but used properly.
We're part of the environment. I think that's what
Yeah, they don't seem to realize we're animals too, And we got to live, we got to eat.
Yeah.
I don't
think
know.
it's no more. It's no truer anywhere else. I think.
I guess it's not exactly what you want to hear on this interview, so.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. What I'm doing is it's about people. It's not about a certain subject or anything. It's just about the people around here.
Mm-hmm.
And people reflect the place.
Well, when you meet a lot of these old timers, you're meeting a lot of good people. But I have noticed now there's people that lived here 20 years that think they're old timers here. And I don't even know them, but every once in a while, especially like down there at Bluff, I ran an Navajo or trading post down there for 15, 18 years, something like that. And now I pick up paper, I don't know a soul in Bluff. And Bluff only had, well, when I was down there, it had 13 families and 13 factions, you know what I mean? Nobody agreed on anything, and it was not an incorporated town, but today the people down there I never even heard of, and they're all archaeologists, zoologists, paleontologists, or some kind of a darn degree, It don't mean a thing to me. And they know it all, they know everything, that regardless of the fact that we grew up with it here, they're telling us how to operate now.
What was it like being sheriff of this place?
Well, there again, the times have changed. Now, when I was sheriff, I had 4 deputies at my peak. I had a territory of 9,000 square miles. Today, this territory has been cut away down with the lake, POW, the government land, these withdrawn areas, and the Navajo reservation has been taken off of the control of the sheriff. They have their own police down there. But still they have 40, 50 deputies, or employees at least, from the county against my 4. And that's only been, I guess I was late 60s when I was sheriff. I don't know when it was. So times have changed considerable there, too. They have 8-hour days in, It used to be I was on for 24 hours a day. I mean, you know what, it amounted to that. And my deputies. And sometimes I didn't even have 4, but and we had the same crimes that I guess they have anywhere in the United States. You know, we had everything from murder and arson to only everywhere they didn't have. We had cattle rustling. We had everything. So per capita, I think we actually had more work to do than some of the departments today. We didn't bother with traffic and writing tickets for speeding, or in fact, I didn't approve of that and still don't. The sheriff's department is an investigation department, not a city police or highway patrol department. But that's all changed now. So, plus you got your federal judges you got to answer to, and you got this and that, and we got along fine until all this stuff started, and now it's complicated.
So you ranched while you were sheriff?
Oh no, I was sheriff. That was a full-time job.
Ranched before?
Yeah.
Any stories about ranching? Things something that's happened, or a tragedy or a comedy, or something that's.
If there wasn't fun in it, there wouldn't be no use doing it. But no, I don't think I have. I've had every experience, I guess, that the other cowboys have all had. From bad horses to good horses, from ornery cows to good cows, and except the difference today, I should say, compared with, say, back in the 30s, was the end of the old-time style, the old style. In other words, we had to pick up a bunch of cows, or had to work with a bunch of cows out here 30 miles. We'd ride from the ranch a horseback to do it, take pack horses, maybe take 2-3 days. Today you can load your horse in a pickup and go out there and do it and be home at night again. It's a different operation today. And when you had 12,000, 14,000 head, you're with those cows as much as 3 to 6 months at a time. You never got to town. Today you can do it every day. Every night you can come back home. That has changed a lot. So the cowboying today is, well, basically you got to do the same kind of work, except it took us a lot longer in those days because you took your saddle horse and your pack, 2 or 3 pack horses, and you were gone for a week, 2 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever it took, you see, in a certain area.
I heard a cowboy poet the other day on the radio saying.
Well, that guy that has the mustache there that comes down twisted, he's pretty cute. I've heard him too. But I doubt if he's a cowboy. He might be.
I heard a cowboy poet on the radio.
Huh?
I heard a cowboy poet on the radio the other day. He's pretty famous. He lives in Denver. They had an interview with him, and I've been interviewing cowboys, and I'm thinking, well, these cowboys, there's something about them that kind of interesting that's beyond.
Well, they're different.
He said they were hippies from the 1860s.
Well, I don't agree with him there. And no cowboy would. No, he's not a cowboy. I don't agree with him there. It was hard work, it was long hours, lots of. I'll agree that some of it's colorful work, but the two don't really go together. I mean, if you go 16, 18 hours in the saddle, that's not too colorful. If you ride down the parade Main Street in your garb with your chaps and your boots and your hats, well, that might be colorful. But so let that guy that seems to think it's all color try it for a while. But let him try it in the way we used to do it. Well, a lot different. I'll tell you what, if you go out of town and you're gone for like 6 months at a time, don't even get to see town, he ought to think about that a little bit. No women allowed, of course. So, it's, I don't agree with him.
He said it's because I think his reasoning was that it's the same kind of independent spirit that cowboys didn't like to be told what to do. That they like to go out and with the cows. Nobody's standing over them telling them what to do.
This is very true. It's an independent life. And, of course, you did have a boss, but it's an independent life. But I've seen both. I've seen the old-time cowboy, and I've seen hippies, and no comparison. So, anyhow, but it is. It's a pretty free life, low pay, long hours, but you haven't got any breathing down your neck either, you know. And a cowboy's always a cowboy, and I suppose it's that reason. That's the reason. It is free, but it's hard work.
Do you know Pete Plasto?
Who?
Pete Plasto, the
Pete?
artist?
No.
Interesting guy.
I've known 2 or 3 artists that were good at Gray Bartlett. In fact, he built a studio up at the ranch when he had his heart attack and died. He was in the process of building a studio. He did mostly cowboy and Indian work, and then I knew Swinnerton. I don't know whether you know his work or not. I knew Joe Grandy, who was their staff artist and the front page artist for Frontier Times and True West. I knew them. Did a little trading with all of them. And that's basically what my business is today, is trading, you know, mostly. Yeah. And this prop stuff. I don't know whether you saw this article that was in the Tribune about me. Did you? And, well, anyhow.
In my pocket? Or is it in the hotel room? I got it in my pocket.
It did describe it a little bit, you know. I'm a trader. And traders are kind of like cowboys. They're different than anybody else in a way.
Any strange requests for movies or? I mean, I'm sure there's.
One of the funniest ones, I wasn't mentioned in that article about it, and I had to mention it, that guy, was these crosses. A picture wanted me to build 6 grave crosses out of just sticks of wood and well, anything old. And they wanted to know if I could do it for $50 a piece, and I went, yeah, I'll give it a try, you know. But afterwards, I asked them why 6 of them, and they said, well, we just wanted to have them so the director could pick out the one he liked the best. $50 a piece for nailing 2 sticks together. I thought that was kind of odd. I've done a lot of odd things in the movies, lots of them. Yeah.
Give me another one. That was pretty good.
I used to like to. My wife don't like this one, but you know, what was her name? Kathleen O'Malley, I think it was. That's Pat O'Malley's daughter. Was one of the stars in Wagon Master. I don't know if it's her, but she signed up to be a driver for a freight wagon. And I had 4 big perching horses on this wagon. And they're pretty strong, and you use all the lines to run them through your fingers, you know. She couldn't handle it. So the director in Ford, that was, chewed her out one time, told her she signed up for it. She'd have to, but she couldn't. So I got behind her. She had a big cape on, like a old-fashioned cape, you know, and I got under her cape and reached around her, which was kind of fun. And she'd run the line through her hands, and then I was running the line, and he's taking up a slack, and I was hitting her in the breast, and one thing another. And here comes the banker now with an article of this. I wanted a couple extras. And I'd drive the team. I got along pretty good with her. But I got a kick out of that, so Chad, you didn't have to.
Howdy, howdy. How are y'all?
You didn't have to bring that out,
Well, I did.
Ron. I appreciate it. This gentleman, him and his wife can introduce themselves.
I'm Ron Johnson.
He's
How are you?
he's doing an interview on, I guess, old timer history out of Moab.
Great.
Yeah.
That's as good a
This
description.
is a good place to do it, too, right here. You can't find a better
You
place.
sure can.
Yeah.
It's neat.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great spot.
That's an article that was in the Tribune.
Yeah, he's got it in his pocket.
Oh, have you?
He's a Mormon. Well, I don't think they'd hire anybody else.
I called up College of Eastern Utah last week to talk to Lorraine. I'm trying to start film school in Moab. I called up Lorraine. Lorraine answered the phone. I said, "It's Lee Bridgers." She said, "Oh, thank God it's not another Mormon."
You know, I don't want this reprinted, of course, but they wanted to build a replica of the first church in Monticello, and I do log work, I used to. So they got me to do in charge of the log work, you know. And and I was in there working, and here come the local judge or the district judge who on his bicycle, like you know how they do some of them. Anyhow, like as if he couldn't afford to have a car. But anyhow, he said, "How come you're doing this instead of a Mormon?" And I said, "Well, you know, I thought maybe some of your bishops would show up here and help a little. I had several of your sons of bishops here, and oh, he got mad. He got back on his bicycle and drove away." But you better not print that.
Sons of bishops. Yeah.
Sons of bishops, you know. Well, a lot of people, you know, I go anywhere else, they ask me if I'm a Mormon. As soon as I tell them, yeah, I'm Utah. Well, I'm more man than woman, anyhow. Let it go at that, you know. But they've been after me for a long, and a big part of my family is, you know, if you raise a bunch of kids here, they're bound to get involved in it. But
What'd you think of John Ford?
well, John Ford was nervous all the time, and he always made me nervous. Did you ever hear about him in his handkerchief? Oh yeah, he'd start out with a clean handkerchief every day. He'd start chewing on it. He'd put the end of it in his mouth. And a lot of people don't believe this, but by night that handkerchief was pretty near gone. He'd chew it up. I think I've got a picture of him with his handkerchief in his hand and here in this, well, in that book that Betty did. He was a great director. But nervous people make me nervous. And but I don't think there's any doubt about what he did the best westerns that was ever done. So he's got to be good.
I think Wagon Master's probably my favorite.
Well, Wagon Master was probably his ultimate. I don't know. And it was I thought it was a good picture. And I knew, who'd we have? We had Ben Johnson and Brian, Harry Carey Jr. We had Joe Andrew, Kathleen O'Malley, Marina Hara. A lot of good old-time stars in that picture. Of course, that was an old-time picture. When was that done? 50? 49? And,
I was born in 49.
huh?
I was born in 49.
Were you? Well, I was driving the 4-up team there. And he was a guy that would make decisions at the spur of the moment. You know, one of them was it was in I think November when we were doing that picture. It was pretty cold, and he wanted the guy shot off the horse in the river. And nobody wanted to do it. And he announced, he said, "I'll give $100. Anybody will do that, fall off his horse in the river, get shot." And I went, "Shoot, fell in that river accidentally and never got paid for it a number of times, and I figured I could do it. So I got somebody to hold my team. I said, hey, I'll do that. But time I got everything arranged, I didn't get involved. But $100, my God, that was pretty good money those days. But he would hire me, right now. But by the time I got my team taken care of, he'd already got somebody to do it. So, but I could hear it on the loudspeaker. I told this guy, money, I found that river for nothing a lot of times in the wintertime, when I was crossing with cattle. And so he was, that's how Ben Johnson got his job, He was just a wrangler with one of his pictures, and some star got in trouble, and the horse, his foot hung up in the stirrup or something, and Ben saved him. So Ford hired him, and Ben was real good. So, I worked a lot of pictures. I can't offhand. I'll tell you the way to get these kind of stories is to get 2 or 3 people like me and George, maybe, White, reminiscing. Then we remember this stuff. One gets to saying something, and the other one, oh yeah, that's. Otherwise, we forget, kind of. Now, I'm sure George was pretty good. He give you a lot of good, solid information. But
George is in bed too.
Huh?
We did that. We have to go to George's house. He's laid up.
He's not well now.
No, he's not well.
Well, how old is he now?